Our special focus this evening: will the water woes in Bengaluru hurt its brand, and could it lead to a drain of IT investment from the city? There are many states which have been aggressively trying to woo IT capital from Bengaluru, and Kerala today reached out to IT companies to invest in their state, promising them talent, resources, and water. While this may be just a dig at Bengaluru and too nascent at this stage, it does raise questions over whether Bengaluru city can sustain its phenomenal growth over the last 2 decades, and if the water woes, which are expected to be perennial with depleting groundwater resources, will result in other options being considered by the tech world. Will its brand take a beating? And more importantly, are there sustainable solutions for the future for those living in this city? Joining me this evening, well-known Bengalurian entrepreneur Madan Padaki, a well-known face in the startup world, Priya Chetty Rajagopal, founder of Heritage Beku and a concerned citizen, as well as Shreya Nath, who's the managing partner of the Urban Water Program of Well Labs. Priya, first to you, in terms of putting this whole crisis from the point of view of a brand of the city, do you see it taking a toll on it in terms of the shortage that we are seeing in the city? Because there are far more serious concerns that we need to address. But first, on this one.
I think it's like, when things are well, things are going good, vultures swoop in, for the spoils. So I think that part of it is a concern. The brand is possibly a concern, but I think we've built up so much in the last few years, it's going to be a minor dent. But the real situation and the real focus is the terrible lack of water. I mean, whether it affects our brand, whether it affects the investments that come into our state, those necessarily remain secondary issues. Right now, it's why is it that our city hasn't really made any provisions, and why does this happen every single year? So if you look at it, it's a combination of the lack of policy implementation. If you look at the unplanned development that we've had, which we all benefit from, by the way, and you look at the number of different structural issues that can actually have helped us, which is whether it's the national water policy or the state water policy, even the implementation of the the 74th Amendment, which is so critical to our governance. The Karnataka ground rules have not been sort of followed. The EPA of 1986, if better implemented, would have made such a difference. And there are so many other acts that, if implemented, we could have done much better. But the issue is also whether with the BDA rules, the BBMP rules, and the management of water, such as it is from the Kaveri to here, there's so much of competence we have in terms of managing our water from within our city, but we seem to have not leveraged that. So it's a number of different issues, and I do come back to the fact that as a brand, we may take a minor dent, and there are a number of other states that we probably want to swoop in. I don't think Bangalore is going to really get affected by that. We have far too much going on as a city, as a talent pool, and as a buzzing cosmopolitan city, not to get sort of struck too much by things like this.
Right. I get the point that you make, and on the Southern View, we've consistently been focusing on solution, treated water, etc. I will get to that. But a question I have very quickly to Madan Padaki before I can go to Shreya Nath. Madan, is it really a concern, or is too much being made out of it? Kerala may be taking a dig at Bengaluru today, but overall, for somebody who wants to live in this city for the future, it's obviously a concern, because this is not something that one expects to be a one-season problem. It's something people fear which could become a perennial problem given our depleting groundwater resources. And I'll come down to that question. Is it possible to sustain the kind of growth that you've had over the last 20 years in the next 10 years?
Sure, Veera. Good evening. And interestingly, yesterday we had a meeting with a whole bunch of entrepreneurs on a very different issue. But it was interesting to note that every few minutes, these group of entrepreneurs in the room of around 30 or 40 people, the topic kept coming back to water and the challenges that they're facing, both personal and as startup entrepreneurs in the city. So it is definitely top of the mind issue right now for a whole lot of us. Having said that, I've been a Bangalorean, one of those old Bangaloreans here. born, brought up in the city. And as far as I can remember, we've always had a water problem. Even when I was 3 or 4 years old, I remember my parents waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning, running with large, barrels to fill up water and stock it for the day. So this challenge is not new. We have somehow managed to get this far. This I'm talking almost about 40, 45 years ago. But I think with the explosive growth that you're talking about, which is what Bangalore is witnessing, and we will soon, we are estimated to be a 20 million people city in the next 7 or 8 years. I don't think this kind of an haphazard approach to water and the basic living quality of life that is required for the city will take us far. As Priya said, this is a complex systemic problem. I don't think you can hold one entity or one, be it a government or any entity, accountable only for this. It has to be solved at a systemic level. And here is where I'm very positive about the attitude and the positivity that the city has for the city to come together to solve it. I think we will do it. It's a question of how fast and how soon can we circumvent this issue.
Right, Madan, as you say that, well, yes, we all like to speak about the spirit, but the spirit will get dried out in thirst. Shreya, is it possible for the city to sustain, given its natural resources, is it possible for this city to sustain this kind of projections that we see in terms of its expansion of population and its space? And if it does have to, what is the one critical thing it needs to learn to do? The last word to you, Shreya, in this.
So we definitely have sufficient water. It's just the management of resources. Currently, the consumption in the city is approximately 2,600 million liters a day. And with the new phase of the Kaveri Stage 5, once it's completed, we should get another 775 million liters a day. So we will be getting more water into the city. Right now, we're experiencing water shortages in the areas which are primarily groundwater dependent, which is on the periphery of the city, and that will continue to grow. But the good news is that we generate 10 million liters a day of wastewater every single day. So we should really focus on reusing that. And Bangalore is sitting on a gold mine, which is it has the highest number of decentralized sewage treatment plants in the world. There are many apartment buildings that already have these sewage treatment plants. So it's just a matter of retrofitting them or making that or having a plug-and-play system at the end of the treatment process, so you can get really high quality water and very much like Singapore start reusing the water almost for everything. And then we can also focus on rainwater harvesting more aggressively. The challenge with rainwater harvesting is that we receive rains primarily in the monsoon season and over very short spans. So holding that water, finding spaces in the city to hold that water, since it's so rapidly grown and concretized, will be a priority. Right. But if we do that, we have 1,800 million liters a day there. So we can sustain 20 million people. It's just a matter of everyone doing their part and coming together. And I think we have the unique position of citizens actually playing a key role.
Very true.
Right, that's a positive note from all three of you as far as this city is concerned. But what it needs to learn is water management and better use of treated water, as many experts have pointed out. But thanks to all three of you for joining us here and for that positive note as well. Kerala doesn't have a chance at the moment, I guess, in terms of taking away our investments. But that's all we have time for on The Southern View. News and updates continue right here on NDTV.